need anything, you're curious about something or, whatever. But, the only thing I ask is, let me try to get through the slide because there might be information, that I am going to tell you. So, all right. So here's the very first thing. So here are all of our links. So if you are very much new to Christian Singles Connect, we do have a website. It was built by wonderful Sean Williams. It is at csc365.org. If you look through, we actually have a few pictures on Meetup and online, and you might have seen, these t-shirts and stuff that we wear. And so if you want, you can actually go out to the store at store.csc365.org. And then if you want to donate, because stuff ain't free, you can go here, or you can just talk to me or send me a message offline, and I can actually send you our Cash App. I probably should just put it up there. So the Cash App is CS Connect 365. So that might be easier, for people to do if they want to donate, right? So because we do have people every once in a while, again, that recognize stuff ain't free. So, that helps out a little bit. We don't really get, talk about that too much. The YouTube, the main stuff is here, for Christian Singles Connect. I just, sent that in the chat. So if you just got here, scroll back through the chat and you'll see this. I do encourage you to go ahead and subscribe right now. So you'll go ahead and be there. Now, this next one is my videos. And you say, well, what's the difference between your videos and CSC? Well, I go a little bit more into depth on my channel, and I can also be a little bit more hard-nosed. Okay, so I'm going to be on my best behavior right now. So I know some of you actually follow me out there, and like I say, I only really kind of push it up one time because it's more about CSC than about me. But I know some people do want to follow, so I just put it up there. So here are the Instagrams if you want to follow there, and then on TikTok you can follow CS Connect, but we don't right now have a lot of stuff on TikTok. But if you are the type of person you're saying, hey, I would absolutely love to help you guys out and do social media, that is where we are lacking the most. So we really need to do more with social media. All right, so here is the message temperature. Again, this is for all the people that are new. A lot of times when we go through things, we lean into the word and we think the word is very important, but sometimes, depending upon what we're talking about, we might lean into articles, which I would say is the mind. That's mind energy, because that is human beings thinking things out. And then sometimes I'll bring up emotion, because a lot of times what really stops us from getting ahead is our own emotion. We believe that, people out here are trying to hurt us, or they're trying to change us, or they're trying to do X, Y, Z. And we have to sometimes get out of our emotions. So you see, this one has an emotion of level 2. All right. So this is saying, yes, there's going to be some emotional things that you guys might care about, and you might need to kind of, flow with me a little bit. Final thing is lifestyle. So lifestyle is just mainly saying, will you have to make a lifestyle change? And for this particular one, I'm not going to go into depth about a lifestyle change. I'm really going to just try to hit the core elements of why it's so hard, because literally I could talk about this for the next 5 hours nonstop, because there's so many different things, that happen. And, we have a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds, and people's backgrounds do matter. And I find that is one of the core elements that really hurts a lot of people, is their background. And then also lifestyle can go into like where you're living. I find a lot of people really want to stay where they live and they don't want to give it up. And sometimes that is not necessarily always the best thing when it's about finding your person, but you still have to always go with what God says first. So if God says stay in your city, you need to stay in your city. But sometimes God really doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him, where you go. And I think that is going to lead us into our very first statement today. Does God want me to be alone? This is constantly going up and down with a lot of different pastors, right? because a lot of pastors, they lean in to the emotions of a lot of single people. And when we look at America, I know that, we have one or two people that are right now, overseas, at least two people that are overseas right now that are on. But here in America, we live in a very commercial environment. And a lot of pastors lean into the commercial side. Let's just be real, because at the end of the day, they're just kind of talking to their flock. All right. And I don't think all of these people are wrong. But what I believe is that they're trying to do their best for their flock. And many of them don't have the understanding of what it's like to be single, what's going on in the single world, and what they really need to be teaching their people in order to win. And I find that a lot of pastors, and like I said, on my channel, I've actually have several videos where, I'll be honest, I actually believe that a lot of pastors hurt singles and actually, quote unquote, keep them single. And I don't, like I said, I don't think they mean to. All right. I just think that they just don't, they really haven't thought about it enough. And many of them, because of their own personality, they were easily able to find their spouse. And they don't understand how some personalities are different. And so you'll hear people say things like, all men do XYZ, all women do XYZ. And as soon as you start talking like that, that for me, that turns me off. Because if we say something like Myers-Briggs, which is a personality test, Myers-Briggs has 16 unique personalities. And when we look at something like Zodiac, and I know a lot of Christians don't like Zodiac, but the reason why I use it here is, again, because I'm just trying to make a point. When we look at Zodiac, what we see is that we have 12 unique personalities. All right. So not every woman acts exactly the same. Not every man acts exactly the same, because a man that's an Aries does not act the same as a man that's a Libra, or a man that's a Scorpio, or a man that's a Sagittarius. And it's the same thing for the women. And if we can say that in our minds, then we have to say that certain people may have it a little bit more difficult than others, or some people might have it a little bit easier than others. All right. So again, does God want me to be alone? So at the very beginning, okay, what we see is God saying it is not good. And when he says man, I don't believe he is just talking about Adam here. I think he is talking about the concept of mankind. It is not good for mankind to be alone. And then when we look at the problems that come with singleness, including depression, that is huge. Depression can be so bad that it can literally cause your organs to kind of slow down, to not produce the way that they should. That is how powerful depression is within the body. And then when we look at, when you put people together, right, we know that marriage in the Bible, especially in the New Testament, marriage is also is the symbol, the spiritual symbol of God, i.e. Jesus, basically coming to or coming with the church, right? Because it always talks about how Jesus is going to come for his bride, i.e. the bride being the church. So what we see is there is symbolism between God and marriage, God and his connection to people. And so God wants us, I believe, to be married. He wants us to be, together. Okay. But he wants it for his glory and to line up with everything that, he has placed within this world. Right. So the bottom line is, does God want you to be alone? I believe there are some people, yes, that God is saying, okay, I need you to be alone for a little while. I need to talk to you. I need to work with you. I need to do X, Y, Z. All right. And there are people that I do believe that. But right now, okay, over 50% of Americans right now, like I said, I don't know what the stats are for overseas, but over 50% of Americans are single. And in the generational Black community, okay, 70% are single. That is not God. God is like 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 10,000 because he has something special he wants you to do. Okay, what we're living in right now is not godly. That is what the devil is doing. All right, so we need to kind of understand that. So unless God has spoken to you directly and has put something in your spirit, or basically say, I want you to do this, or you feel a calling to do something for God, if that does not happen, more than likely, God don't want you to be alone. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this curse, right? So a lot of you already know about this, and I'm not blaming male or woman and all this other kind of stuff that, again, some pastors might do. But what we see is we see that right as this curse happened, with the whole thing with the fruit, we end up with this fighting between men and women. So this was the first time that there was a fight between men and women. And the reason why I want to make sure that I put a point on that is because there's a lot of people right now, especially in social media, that are leaning into that fight. And you have to ask yourself, why would these people lean into their fight? Well, it's easy. First of all, you have an enemy, which is Satan, okay, who wants to destroy marriage because marriage, lines up with God. And then second, I'm just going to be real, you make money. Okay, and you make more money with controversy than you make with solutions. If you really notice that a lot of the people in social media, they talk about the problem, but they give no answers or fixes to said problem. And that's one of the things that we've always tried to do in Christian Singles Connect. But I will say, like I said, if you guys decide to follow me on my channel, I'm already gonna let you know that is one of the problems with a lot of people when they come out to my channel, is because when they come out there, they're really looking for me to pat them on the head. And instead what they get is more of a person that's like a coach that's encouraging you to make the right decisions to change your life. And then people come back and they say, well, that's hard. And I've literally had that where people have told me how you teach, they say, Jay, how you teach is hard. And I tell them straight up, but we have a major problem. And if you're going to say right now that you're going to become an architect and you've never been an architect before, now you have to go to school and you have to learn things you've never learned before. And being an architect will give you a job for 40 years and then you can retire. But when you marry and you marry well, that's going to last you the rest of your life. That is going to affect your children and your children's children. It's going to affect every single thing about your life. So you mean to tell me that you're going to sit in front of me and you're going to tell me that you don't want to do the hard work when marriage is 10 times, 100 times more important than a job, but you would go and work hard for a job? Come on now. It doesn't work that way. Okay, you have to be willing to put in the work, and you have to recognize that we live in a cursed world. All right, and all of us make mistakes on the daily, and all of us need to yield into what God originally intended, and or the best things that we can do in order to help, a possible marriage and things like that, right? So let's get into these roles, right? So these are more traditional roles. Now, I truly believe that there needs to be more than the roles in order to have a marriage, right? Okay, and everything I talk about is about marriage. I do not talk about all the great ways you can date and 5 strategies, to get a man to like you or to notice you, and 3 strategies for men, to come up. No, that's garbage. All right. We don't focus on that in CSC. We focus on marriage, right? Okay, so when you're dealing with marriage, there's generally things that men are looking for, and there's generally things that women are looking for, all right? And see, the problem with these things is that a lot of men and a lot of women don't think about that when they listen to men talk about women, or they listen to women talk about men. And if you don't think about these things, you get very confused about what the woman is saying and or what the man is saying. All right. So when we start to talk about a woman's role, we're dealing with a helpmate, a supportive person, someone who can encourage the vision of the man. This is one of the main reasons why I do not encourage women, okay, to bind themselves, not even with a kiss, not even beyond one date with a man that not only does not have a vision, he is not moving in that vision. Because at the end of it, talk is cheap. So if a man is not moving, if he's not doing something with his vision, leave him alone. This is how a lot of women make their mistake, is because how can you help him? How can you help him in his vision if he's not even moving in his vision? His vision needs to be clear to him before you meet him. Okay. And if it's not clear to him, he needs to work on it. So leave him alone, let him go work on his vision, and then you can come back. Second thing, caring, nurturing. Okay. Care for the husband and children, meeting their emotional needs. The next one, and this has a little star by it because a lot of women don't think about this, but find financial help and support to aid the family. So this basically is saying that a woman is not necessarily leaning back and letting a man do everything. She is basically saying, I'm looking for ideas to push the family forward. I am looking for ideas that can help us save $5, whether it be in coupons, or I see that the market has changed for real estate. So maybe it's time for us to move out of this house into another house. Okay. Also, adorning herself and providing grooming and glamour for herself and her children and even her husband. And actually, those things line up to Proverbs. See, a lot of people don't really get a lot of this stuff out of Proverbs because people pick and choose what they want. But the Proverbs 31 woman is we would actually call her today almost like an independent woman, even though she's not independent. We would almost say that because she's about the business of making sure her family gets and it moves in the way that it needs to. She is not afraid to make her family work. All right. Now, I don't necessarily, like I say, believe that women have to do everything, but I think the concept here is the encouragement of said thing. All right. Now, let's get into the guys. Okay. So for a man, he needs to basically protect, provide, and lead. And many of you have heard this over and over and over again. And when I talk to women about a lot of things, their pain generally comes out of the three things men are looking for. And when I talk to men about their situation, their pain comes out of the things that women are looking for. All right. So a man needs to lead. And that's why I say he needs to have a vision, because once you have the vision, it's a little bit easier to lead because you know where you're going. And if you know where you're going, now you can basically say, hey, wife and children, this is the direction that we are going. The next thing is protection. Okay, for most people, protection, if the man is a little bit bigger, if he's a little bit taller, you actually already have that, kind of taken care of, because it's more of how the woman sees it in her subconscious. However, if you run into a situation where you got to a guy's pulled out a gun, you need to be willing to take the bullet. Okay, that's the whole concept of protection. You need to be able to protect your family from harm. Okay, and it doesn't necessarily mean you got to have 10 guns in your basement. What it means is that you're looking out and seeing the problems before they happen. All right, and then the final thing is provision. And we get a lot of kickback from guys in CSC and all over about provision, because provision generally comes back down to money. At the end of it is money. All right. And a lot of men are not really that ambitious. But this is going to be something that women will always want from men. They'll never change. This has been around since biblical times. It is always going to be around. So when men try to say, I don't want to have any money, I don't want to care about my money, I don't want to pay for, the first 3 or 4 dates, what you're telling women is, leave me alone. That's what you're telling women. And I'm trying to get a lot of men to stop doing that. So you see the guy with the big toe, and you're like, okay, why do I show a guy with a big toe, right? And here's what it is. This is how you're supposed to lead your wife and your children. Say this particular guy you see on the screen, he is leaving out. He is going to an important meeting. This important meeting is something he really cares about. Okay. He goes through the house. On his way out, he stubs his toe. As soon as he stubs his toe, what does he do? Does he continue to his meeting? No. He stops and he cares for the toe. Right? Does that make sense? Everybody, that makes sense? Well, here's the whole thing. Your wife is your body. She's your body. And when you lead her, you have to lead her in servant leadership. So when a woman is hurt, when she's going through something emotional, when she is going through something painful, even if she's just having a rotten day, her needs have to immediately come first. You have to take care of her needs before you take care of your own. That is the proper way to lead her. When you
Hey,
look
Joseph, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but could you make me the co-organizer? I need to mute somebody real quick.
Okay, no problem. I got you.
All right, thanks, bro. Sorry for the interruption.
No, you're good. You're good. So when you are as a man, so when you, like I say, are going in and you are dealing with women, I want you to think about Jesus. And there was a time, like I said, I'm gonna try to get through this really quick, but there was a time with Jesus. His cousin had just died. He gets up in the morning, he goes to pray. Excuse me. On his way to pray, people come out because they want to hear from him. He preaches to them, even though he's upset, even though his cousin just died. He preaches to them. Then he's like, well, man, they ain't got nothing to eat. So he feeds them. Okay. Then the disciples are tired. He tells them, okay, y'all get on this boat. Y'all head over to the other side. I'll be with y'all after I send these people home. So he sends these people home. Then, as the Bible records, early in the morning, or I think the third watch of night, however you want to say it. So this was like 1 in the morning. Here comes Jesus walking across the body of water, whatever it was, a lake or whatever it is. He's walking across it. This thing probably was miles. See, everybody looks at the miracle of him walking on the water, but you're not looking at the sacrifice. See, the sacrifice was all day long, he has done nothing but help other people. All day long, it has not been about him and his pain and what he's going through. All day long, he has put other people first. That is how you lead. You have to put your woman first. All right? You have to lead her being concerned about her things first, but having the knowledge and the love to say, baby, sometimes the things you're talking to me about right now are not necessarily more pressing than this other thing, which is going to be that balance of trying to make sure that we got enough money to try to make sure that the house note is paid, to try to make sure that it's a balance between the two. But you still have to be able to put the needs of the family first. That is the proper way to lead from a Christian perspective. All right? So that's what we call a servant leader. All right? So you lead by serving. And that's why the Bible says the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. All right? So if you want to get your life, you have to lose your life. Because it ain't about you. That's the easiest way to say it. In today's world, it'd be like, this ain't about you. It ain't about you. All right? So when you're out here and you are trying to get in relationship, you need to understand that there are these unwritten rules. And that's basically what I just went over. So you see them on the screen. So basically, when a woman says, I ain't found no good man, ain't no good men out here. Ain't no good men in Atlanta. Ain't no men out here. And you could be right next to it when she's saying these big things. Like Jenny might say this. Jenny might just be like, ain't no good men in Atlanta. All these men ain't nothing. They ain't nothing. And what she really means is, I don't see a man that's around me that I feel has the ability to protect, to provide, and to lead me in the way that I would want it to, and that I am sexually attracted to. Okay, that's what she really means when she says, I don't see no good men. Because what we do as men, we'll hear her say the statement and we'll be like, I'm a good man. I'm a good man. But there's something in the way that our lives are going where she doesn't see that from us. And it's the same thing if Mr. Tim was saying it. He was like, look, ain't no women out here. Ain't no women in Florida, I don't know where they at, but they not here. Basically, again, what he is saying is, I don't see a woman that is out here that is attractive to me, that I believe that is caring, loving, and supportive, and that will help me to go down and push the vision that God has given me. That is what they're saying. And it's really important for us to understand this because a lot of times we get ourselves caught in the weeds. And one of the things that I've always tried to encourage people to do is why fight the non-negotiables? People fight the non-negotiables over and over again. Women fight beauty. They just fight it. They just, well, a man need to love me and all this other kind of stuff. And it could be people all on social media talk about that forever. And men will fight the money thing. Oh, wow, women always want your money. They all gold diggers, blah, blah, blah. Again, you're fighting a fight that you ain't never gonna win. Okay? I've learned not to fight certain fights. Like, again, for all the new people, I was divorced 4 years ago, right? And I'm glad that Sean Williams is on because when I first started CSC, I made, I just told people straight up, I am not used to talking to women. I'm not used to what they call a cold approach, which means the woman didn't necessarily ask me to come over. She's not making eyes with me. And I have to try to talk to her for the first time, try to make conversation, try to figure this out. And I watched so many videos on it. I watched all this other kind of stuff. And people say, well, Jay, how could you get all the way, you were married, you did all this other kind of stuff. How can you not know how to talk to women? Well, I was taught to be married. I wasn't taught to date. And I met my ex literally on the first class of my college career. So as a freshman, very first class, that's when I met the woman that would be my wife. So I never had to learn how to talk to women. I never had to learn how to go to a party and then learn, and to walk up to a woman and talk to her. I never had to learn that. And so at the very beginning of CSC, I was encouraging women to do all this stuff. Y'all need to come out of y'all shell. Y'all need to do this. Y'all need to do that. And all the women was telling me over and over again, oh, Jay, we don't like to do that. And that just makes us uncomfortable. And it was over and over again. So after a certain amount of time, I recognized that, hey, Jay, I'm looking at myself. If you stay in this mindset, you're going to be single. You're going to stay single. And the reason why you're staying single is because the women are saying that a good portion of them, 70, 80% of them were saying, for the most part, that while they might bend the rules here and there, for the most part, they're not going to do that. They're not going to follow that. So for me, it's like, for me to fight that fight is like literally me hitting my head against a brick wall and thinking, I'm not going to hurt myself, but this, I'm believing that this brick wall is going to break. Okay, it ain't gonna happen. Okay, it just ain't gonna happen. So that's why I always encourage people to get out of the mindset, all right, to say that I am going to fight against the unwritten rules. Because 9 times out of 10, really 99 times out of 100, it's not gonna work out for you. And all you're gonna do is get hurt and get in your feelings. And it's one of those hard things that all of us have to deal with because we all have our own insecurity. And we hold on to our insecurity, not recognizing that's the very thing that God is leading us, like we talk about renewing of the mind, okay, to move ourselves out of. And I truly believe that a lot of times people don't understand that God is talking to you via the people and the situations that God has placed you in. And like I told you all at the very beginning, this is why a lot of people either like the way I teach or they don't like the way I teach. Because the bottom line is, I'm saying you have to change. In all your relationships, the common denominator is you. In your walking around life 24/7, 365, the common denominator is you. Okay, it's not that there's no good people out here. It's not that there's no good women or that there's no good men. That's lies. That's lies of the enemy. What's real is, for some reason, these people out here are not attracted to you. They don't want you. And so you have to see it in a different light. And now that's not to say that we all are not in situations where, things can be rough around us. But that's why I also say sometimes you might have to leave your city. Sometimes, you might have to change things. Like here, even in Atlanta, Atlanta's a big city. For people who have never been in Atlanta, Atlanta's huge. All right. And I moved recently last year. In fact, next month will be 1 year where I moved from one side of the city, which was a whole nother county, a county of almost 1 million people, to move to another side of the city, which is in a whole nother county, because there's like 12 counties that make up Atlanta. And I'm over here in this county, I think has like 650,000 people. All right. And I made that move because I'm saying I'm willing to change. I'm willing to do what I need to do. And like the reason why I was bringing up Sean Williams is because, like, even with me not wanting to talk to women, going up to them and making that cold call, Sean Williams would coach me. He would coach me. He coached me for like 1.5 years because I recognized that was my weakness. But Sean Williams is from New York City. And in New York, if you don't make a move on a woman, you might never ever see her again. So Sean taught me, and he would show me, he was like, well, Jay, you just have to come up with this, and you have to say this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And so I had to listen to him, and then I had to come up with my own strategy in order to get over it. All right? So here's the next big thing. We live in a world of misinformation. Okay? The internet is your friend, and then it's not your friend at the same time. All right? There's a lot of great information out there, but then there's a lot of information where people are trying to fool you, and they're trying to get you to go down a path that is not good, right? And so the biggest thing I can tell you on that is, like, make sure of their temperament, and also make sure that you understand their agenda. All right? Because their temperament and their agenda is the key. And the Bible talks about that, because Jesus talks about, you will know a person by their what? Fruit. What is their fruit? And then what you see in Proverbs is, you see, don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people, or you will learn to be like them and endanger your soul. So that's Proverbs 22, 34. I think that's wrong. It's probably 34 to 35. Probably not 25. I don't think it was going in reverse. But what you see right now, think about, like I said, right now, just think about some of the social media out there. Almost every other place you're going is the people are angry. Don't talk to these black men. These men ain't about nothing. All these men want is this, this, and this, and this. And then you go to somebody else. All these women want, they're just doing this and they're doing that. And they got attitudes and they don't know how to humble themselves and blah, blah, blah. And everybody's angry. They're so angry. But God says, don't even hang with them. Don't watch their social media. Don't be bothered with them. Because when you watch them, it gets into your spirit. And then you're endangering yourself, because you're turning yourself into them. And how can you say that I want to date the opposite sex, where in your heart is saying that women or men or whatever, the opposite sex, are bad? So everything you watch is saying that the opposite sex is bad, but then you're saying, I want to marry the opposite sex. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to be around people and watch things and be around things that are going to benefit you, and that's going to bless you and it's going to take you into a better place. And it's one of the main reasons why, even with CSC, because a lot of people are always curious at the fact that CSC is, we actually are co-ed, right? We have both men and women. And I'm always telling people, why would you ever trust someone that only speaks to women or only speaks to men? I don't give a dog or toot if you're a woman and you're listening to a man and that man only talks to women. Unless men are co-signing on what he says, I wouldn't believe it. I just wouldn't believe it. Because you got to make sure that both sides agree. If both sides don't agree, then what the person is saying is not true. It's not going to work. And what a lot of men out here do, especially for a lot of women, is that they make money off of women's insecurities, especially insecurities about dating. And you might say, well, Jay, that's not true. Okay, well, Oprah Winfrey is a billionaire. Tyler Perry is a billionaire. And Steve Harvey was definitely on that train. Okay? And all of them leaned into the concept that Black women were afraid to be alone. They were afraid to be single. And they leaned into the anger that comes from being in that situation. And all of them are now in that high level of money because of that. All right? So let's watch a little video, then I'm going to discuss a little bit of the video. And everybody that, will have to kind of help me out on this, because of all the races, all right, of all the races, we look at generational Black people as having a quote unquote hardest time. So I know I'm trying to, with this video, let you guys know and see, again, we're dealing with misinformation.
Of Black men in the age group of about 25 to 54 in comparison to Black women is actually 83 to 100.
And it's also shown in research that women want to marry on their same level of financial and educational status. Yeah. So if you're a Black woman making $150,000 a year with a master's degree, you tend to want to marry a Black man on that same level.
So the core here is simple. There are 83 men for every 100 women, or 8.3 men for every 10 women. And this is for African Americans, i.e. generational Black. And the reason, like I say, why I'm saying this is because so many Black women are always acting like, ain't no men out here, ain't no men out here, ain't no men out here. And again, that is a lie. And media leans into it because they're making money. And I really need Black women to understand this, because a lot of you all are will lean into frustration, and you come up with these narratives that are not true. And it's harder to take the narrative of maybe I don't know where to look, or maybe I'm not the one they're looking for, instead of saying, oh, there's people out here, so it helps to lean into this thing of, oh, there's just no men, right? But we have to look at it from a very logical perspective. So like I said, the very first thing up here, only 4.5% of men are actually gay, okay? And when you look down here, only 2.3% of Black men are in prison. The reason why everybody always saying, oh, it's all these Black men in prison, is what they're saying is the percentage of inmates. When you take all the inmates in the whole United States, more of them are Black. That's what that means. More of them are Black than any other race. But when you take all of the Black men in America, only 2.3% of them are in jail. All right? But again, one of the main reasons why I put up the money, because a lot of women are very concerned about money. How much money these men are making. Well, the average man, this is 2004 Q1. We are in Q2 right now. The average Black man makes $48,620. And when you look at it, he actually makes more money than the average Black woman. And what I was trying to show in that other video
of Black men
is that she was sitting here saying, and this is Rebecca Lynn Pope. She's actually pretty famous when it comes to relationships. And that's why I try to tell y'all, a lot of people are lying to you, okay? Whether they mean to or not, they're lying to you. She had just said that Black women are having a hard time. There ain't no men out here making no money. Okay, we're better than them. We're making all this money. It's $150,000, blah, 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 blah. Here is the real thing. Over here, black demographics. The blue is men. The orange is women. $100,000 or more. Black men make more money than black women. 65,000 to 100,000. Black men make more money than black women. $50,000 to $64,000. Black men make more money than black women. So again, these are lies. They get perpetrated. So the average black man makes more money. Okay, once you get into the 100,000s, black men make more money. But see, they don't want to come on and say maybe some of her friends and some of these people she's talking about, black men just don't want them. All right, because that's harder to take. That's a harder pill to swallow, you know, as people say, right? And there goes Microsoft trying to do something extra. You don't need to do nothing extra. All right, so now you might ask, where is everybody then? Why I can't find nobody? Where is everybody? Well, let's be real. So if we basically take a jar of jelly beans, okay, and this is the group that's 18 to 32. That's why it has the little numbers up there, 18 to 32, if you can see them. And you got a jar of jelly beans, and you got 100 jelly beans in there. And we pass it around to people, okay? Which jelly beans go first? The ones that people think are the most, that taste the best, right? It makes sense. So the jelly beans that go first are the ones that people think taste the best. All right? So what happens is, by the time people are 32 years old, approximately 50% of the people that you start out with at 18 are now married. They're now off they're out of it. They're no longer in the dating pool. And again, most of the time, who are the people that go first? Like I said, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, okay? But I'm trying to be real, okay? If we want to talk about why it's hard, okay, we have to be real about it. So by the time, like I said, this is just statistics at the bottom, okay? And it's just basically talking about just, you know, confirming what I'm saying up here, is that a good portion of the people are taken out. Now, that does not mean that these jelly beans taste bad. It does not mean that these are reject jelly beans. What it means is that there was something about the people at 18 to 32, maybe they were prepared. Maybe they went to the right places. Maybe they understood what they needed to do, you know, in order to get married. All right. But in that understanding, we have to say, how can we take the people that are 32 and over and get them to have the same understanding as the people that have already been put in marriage? And one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of people, they think that they've really been trained to date well. They have not been trained to be a husband or to be a wife. And we can all say, you know, a lot of people say, oh, that's what the Bible says, you know, he who findeth a wife, not he who findeth a girlfriend, not he who findeth a woman, not he who finds a cute woman, but he who findeth a wife. And I'll be honest with you, I believe most proverbs can be flipped. So I would say the same thing. A woman who findeth a husband, you know, not a woman who findeth a man. All right. And so what happens a lot of times is the very things in our society that we lean into and we say, okay, these are the things that we want from a wife, are the very things that our society is telling us not to do. Our society is telling women, okay, not to be caring and nurturing, not to be supportive. Girl, you got to get your own. You can't lean on these men. You know, you got to do this, you got to do that. What does it tell the men? Oh, you know, dude, man, she just after your money. You know, you ain't got to do nothing for that girl. Shoot, you know, I'm over here drizzling. You know, let me go ahead. I'm out here to get mine. It's never about sacrifice. It's never about putting the other person first. And then even when you do that, and this is the harder part, men and women have to pick well. They have to pick well. And one of the problems with picking well is when you start to talk about sexual chemistry. All right. And I could literally do a whole video like a whole session just on sexual chemistry. But in the 2 or 3 minutes that I have, I am going to basically say that the first couple of people that you have sex with, they have an energy about them. Okay. And generally speaking, you're going to chase that energy until you stop chasing it. All right. And what do I mean by this? It's kind of like when I was talking about the whole thing with Zodiac. So say, for instance, Mr. Tim, I'm just picking on you, Tim, because I can see your face. So say, for instance, Mr. Tim loves his first, woman or whatever was an Aquarius. He dated this woman that was an Aquarius for 3 years. And he had a good time with her. They had fun or whatever. And then he decided to move on to another woman. Maybe they broke up or whatever it is. 9 times out of 10, the next woman is going to be an Aquarius. So the personality of the first woman is going to be in the second woman, but now it's just a different body. And many of us, if we really think about it, we can kind of understand this concept that we're dating the same person in different bodies. And when we run into someone that's different, that doesn't act like the person, that we're used to, we say things like, oh, well, we didn't have any chemistry. We didn't have any chemistry. And the reason why you don't have chemistry is because you never recognized that the very first person that you were ever with, more than likely when you were 16, 17, 18, 19, you actually put in work to build the chemistry in the first place. And now that you're older, you think, oh, I don't have to put in the work anymore. Yes, you do. If you picked wrong. So for Mr. Tim, if he picked this Aquarius and he finds out Aquarius women are not good for him, now he needs to change. Maybe he needs a woman that's a Leo. But now when he gets around a Leo, they have no chemistry. But now they got to put in the work. And the best way I could describe this is if you've ever been around a stroke person, someone who's had a stroke. If you look at a baby, right? You look at a baby. So we're going to move away from the stroke for a second, and we're going to look at a baby. How long does it take a baby to learn how to walk properly? Believe it or not, it can take for them to walk properly. When I'm saying they never trip, they never fall, it's almost 99% of the time they're going to land on their feet. That could take 7, 8, 9 years, because you even see 7 and 8-year-olds tripping over their feet, right? Because it's a balance thing. So when someone has a stroke and the stroke has affected their walking, it is difficult for those people to learn how to walk again, because it took so long for them to learn how to walk in the first place. But see, they don't remember it because it happened when they were a baby. Well, it's the same thing that happens in your love life. If you are attracted to an Aquarius, you're used to an Aquarius. You know how to work with the Aquarius. You're moving and grooving with the Aquarius. So now you're trying to talk to a Leo. Well, a Leo acts different. So now you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I act with the Leo? But now you have to learn it again. So however long it took you with the first person, but now the excitement of being in that very first relationship is gone. So now, even though you have a new amount of excitement with this next person, you have to do work. You have to learn their ins and outs. And you have to be okay with not having chemistry yet and actually getting to where you need to do, because you recognize this is a good person. I mean, how many times have we heard stories where I literally had a TikTok, I was going to try to find it and put it up, but there was a TikTok that I found where this woman literally says, I found a really great guy. He treats me good. He has money. He's handsome, blah, blah, blah. But I had to break up with him because, we didn't have any chemistry. So the man was perfect, except y'all didn't have chemistry. And that was enough for you to say no. And that is the reality of so many of us, because we believe that our person is supposed to have chemistry with us, even though it's never worked for us in the past. And that literally going after the same thing, believing that we're going to get different results, is literally what people call insanity. And the Bible basically says it like this: as a fool returns to their folly, is just like a dog that returns to its vomit. The vomit wasn't good for the dog. Whatever food was in him wasn't good for the dog. That's why he threw it up. But what does he do? He goes around the world for a while. His stomach feels better. And so now he goes back to what he left, what hurt him, and eats it again. And that is what so many of us do. And then again, we'll say, I ain't no good men out here. Ain't no good men out here. Okay, have you ever dated anybody other than an Aquarius? No. So how are there no good men out here? You never tried a Libra? Never tried a Sagittarius? Or, like I said, I know most people don't know, different Myers-Briggs. That's why I use that, all right? So here is disorder and unrealistic expectations. We have to recognize our media preys on us, okay? You got to get it. You have to understand it. Okay, when you watch a female romance, a romance with a female lead that is primarily made for women, okay, so at the top is Pride and Prejudice. What you see is a plain Jane woman. It's always a plain Jane woman. She's never beautiful, okay? She's never really anything like that. She thinks she's unloved. She generally has a friend that she thinks is so beautiful. Excuse me, the woman is prettier than her. She's never the one that the man wants, but it's the plain Jane woman. And she ends up with the best guy, the guy who's the absolute best. He's better than everybody else. And if you ever watch Pride and Prejudice, that's exactly what happens. She ends up with the best dude. He got more money. He got more status. He got everything. And for whatever reason, he's in love with her, little plain Jane girl. But then when you look at Spider-Man, you see these men who, what happens? They start off, they're weak. They're horrible with women. All right. They have nothing going on for themselves. And then he wants the hot girl, the hot chick. He wants the best woman. And it's always that her boyfriend is a jerk. Have you ever noticed that? Her boyfriend's always a jerk. He's never a great guy. He's always a jerk. Because he has, because the protagonist got to look good. So Peter Parker has to be awesome, and then Mary Jane Watson's boyfriend has to be a jerk. And sooner or later, he learns to get into his strength, and then he can get Mary Jane Watson. Then he gets the hot girl. Again, it leans into your insecurity. It leans into a woman's insecurity or a man's insecurity, and it creates unrealistic expectations because we believe that we're supposed to get this person because all the movies we watch say that all I have to do is just love. And I have to put my heart out there. And the Lord God, he's going to bless me. When does it say that in the Bible? Where does it say that in the Bible? They don't say that in the Bible at all. In fact, a lot of times in the Bible, somebody will come to a woman and they said, there is a man 100 miles away who's looking for a wife. Are you okay with that? Oh, sure. I will go because God said it. And then they go off and then they get married and they're done. She don't know who she's going to marry. A lot of the men, they don't know who they're going to marry. They just do it. All right. So who generally is going to be your person? Your person is your reflection. Okay. So what does this mean? If that means if I'm looking in the mirror, I am an average height man. All right. I am 5'8.5", right? And so I look in the mirror, more than likely, I am going to marry an average height woman. I look in the mirror, I'm decently fit, right? Because I go to the gym, I eat well. So I'm probably going to marry a woman who is decently fit. I'm really into sci-fi and fantasy, writing and telling stories and stuff like that. So more than likely, I am going to run into a woman who has the same. I have a passion for God. More than likely, I'm going to run into a woman who has the same. All right? That is your reflection. If you don't like your reflection, you change you. When you change you, then your person is going to change as well. The people that you can attract, the people that you're more than likely going to be with. The key to all of this, like I said at the very beginning, you have to change you. When me and Sean Williams were talking about, like I said, dating, and I was talking about all the problems I was having, it ultimately came down to the wisdom where Sean told me, well, he didn't tell me this directly, but I recognized I had to change me. I can't change women. I can't change the world, but I can change me. All right. And that's why I'm always encouraging people to be the best person you can be. It doesn't mean that you need to beat yourself up or anything like that, but you need to try to be the best person that you can be so that your reflection, you will like them. Because see, one of the problems is a lot of people don't like their reflection. They don't. If they saw their version of themselves in the opposite gender body, they'd be like, "No, I ain't talking to them. I ain't talking to them. They too short. They too tall. They too this. They too that. They don't dress well." And we say that kind of stuff all the time, but then we look at ourselves and we are that person. So why should a woman who spends, I don't know, $300 a month or more on her beauty, on her clothes, and all this other kind of stuff, talk to a guy who's a jeans and t-shirt guy? Why should she talk to him? She has spent money, time, effort, energy in her beauty. Why should she talk to a guy who does not? Okay, it does not work that way. You want the girl who's really doing it up, wearing the heels, wearing the nice dresses, doing all that kind of stuff. As a man, you do the equivalent. You do the male version of the equivalent. And then at that point, that woman will start to pay attention to you. That's how that works. All right? Here's the whole thing, ladies, it's always game on. I get so sick and tired of people when they talk about women don't chase men. That is garbage. Women have been chasing men since day one. Since day one. It's just that they do it in a different way. Women leave subtle notes to the man that they want. Whether they're making eye contact with him, whether they're flirting with him, whether they are, dropping, quote unquote, the proverbial handkerchief. That is garbage, where people say that women don't do anything. They do it. It's just that with me, I encourage women not to make what I would call the primary move. So you can make eye contact, you can talk to him, blah, 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 be friendly, but he needs to ask for your number. He needs to make the first date. He needs to take it after you have done what you needed to do. When you look at Ruth, let it be known, like Boaz, I want you. Can't you see I'm lying at your feet? I want you. I am letting you know 100%. It is no doubt that I want you. And then what Boaz say after that? Ruth, chill. I'll take it from here. All I needed to know, boo, was that you like me. I'll take it from here. And see, that's all women have to do. You let it be known that you're interested. After that, if the man likes you and he wants to make it work, he'll take it. You ain't got to do nothing else. And like I said, ladies, you're looking for a man that's a servant leader. If you desire in your heart a man that is not a servant leader, you need to check your heart. All right. And you might need to do a little therapy and actually, really figure yourself out. Because I'm going to be real. A lot of women, it's like people say, nice guys finish last. If you truly believe that as a woman, you're walking in toxicity. Because basically what you're saying is, if the mindset is that nice guys finish last, then that basically means you're biting into the fact that you would rather be with a man who treats you like garbage than to be with a man that treats you well. And a lot of times, like I said, that goes back to sexual energy. Who was the first person you was with, or the first couple of people you was with, or whoever you had a crush on, or whatever movies you were watching. And that is going to take you away from the godly man, okay, that's actually going to treat you well. And it's also going to hurt your children because they don't see that positivity in your life. All right? But yes, you can do something. You ain't got to do nothing. So as always, I'm all about solutions, okay? Solutions. I don't like, people just talking at a subject. I like solutions. So how do you win? So you can always make eye contact. I'm always surprised at how many people don't make eye contact, don't really try to make a connection, all right? And when I'm talking about eye contact, I'm talking about eye contact everywhere. All right. So if you're in a grocery store, make eye contact. If you're on your runs, make eye contact. Okay. Now I know some people are not here in the wonderful South where we're supposed to be friendly. I mean, Atlanta is not as friendly as it used to be, but it's always good to say hello, good afternoon, good evening, blah, 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 because those little things help you. And it also helps for you to, make a connection. The next thing, speak to as many people as you can. I'm always surprised at how many people their mindset is, I want the 10 out of 10. If the gender that I'm interested in is not a 10 out of 10, I ain't talking to them. Well, you shouldn't be like that. If anybody that you see is really kind of like a 6 out of 10 to you, I think you should talk to them, because you never know how they will glow up if their clothes changes or if they do one or two things. And I find, like I said, I actually believe most people are attractive, but again, I can't go into that in this particular video. Not video, but in this particular presentation. Get out of your comfort zone. Again, a lot of people lean into their comfort zone. And it's like I told you, I moved from one county to the other county. Okay. If I didn't think God wanted me in Atlanta, to be honest with you, I probably would have already left Atlanta. I have no problem with moving. Okay. I have no problem with trying different things. I've tried the apps. I've tried lots of other different things. In fact, I just went to, another meetup last night, trying to do something different. So I'm always looking for opportunities to do something different. I know this is very difficult for introverts, but you have to be honest with yourself. All right. Because like I say, Amazon don't deliver men. So you have to figure it out. And I do encourage introverts to be okay with telling the guy or woman that you're talking to, like if you meet somebody somewhere, that you are an introvert. Don't be afraid to communicate. Don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to basically tell the person a little bit about yourself, especially if you feel that the way that you move might be slightly different than other people. All right. Like one of the things that I always tell women is that I'm very busy. All right. And just like you guys are, have this, we're having this meeting right now. I do a lot with Christian Singles Connect. I do a lot with some of the other things that I do. And believe it or not, I got 2 jobs. 2. All right. So with all of that going on, okay, that's a lot. So when I meet women, I try to tell them that, because a lot of, I understand that we live in a world where a lot of men are trying to play women. And so they'll tell them, oh, I'm busy, but it's really them out there chasing women. But for me, I always make sure that the women understand it, because I want to put them at ease. And if I'm going to lead them, I need to put them at ease. There needs to not be lying and all this other kind of crap. I need to instead try to move in a way that makes them comfortable. I feel like my job is to make the woman comfortable. I truly believe that a woman's life with the right man should be extremely easy. All right. Next thing, communicate on social media. We got to get, especially people that's over 35. I mean, we're really over 40, because a lot of us don't want to DM nobody. We don't even want to be on social media. We really want it to go away, but it's not going away. All right. And the more people are into their phones and social media and stuff like that, the less people are communicating in the real world. So we have to find a way, okay, to actually get into those spaces. So I just encourage you, even if you only put 5 pictures up, on a social media site like Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, I do encourage you to at least put that out up there. And then ladies, check your messages at least once a week on social media, even if you have to put yourself an alarm on your phone in order for you to encourage yourself to go take a look at it. Because you need to see, is a guy trying to reach out to you? Is he trying to talk to you? What's going on? All right. Because if you don't, you could be missing out. And there have been people that have gotten married off of social media. But I will always encourage women, especially because I see this more in women than men, is that women, I encourage you to talk to almost every man that runs into you. If he's at least a 6 out of 10 in attractiveness, I encourage you to talk to him for at least 15 minutes. All right. Because you need to know who he is. You need to go deeper than what he looks like. Look, what a person looks like is really not worth that much. You need to be friends. Y'all need to be good friends. Y'all need to have things in common. You need to wake up every day and say, yes, today, like I say, like for me, like I told you guys, my background, I was a little bit in media and sci-fi and stuff like that. So like when I was married, me and my ex would be like, oh, the new Marvel film is coming out. Oh, crap, we going to see this and that. Are we going to the Midnight Matinee? You know, we was like that. All right. And that's how your person needs to be. Okay. You need to want to spend time with them. If you could not take your person and remove their gender and still want to hang out with them, you need to leave them alone. Okay. You just need to leave them alone. And a lot of people, what they do is they find somebody that they think is cute and then they try to make it work. Okay. And that's really a recipe for failure. All right. So you need to understand, in order to get that, you need to understand yourself and what you want. I found a lot of people don't know themselves. They really don't know themselves. They don't know really what they want out of it. And you need to kind of seek that out. You need to really know what's going to be good for you so that when you're dealing with someone and you're talking to someone, that you can basically lean into it. Because I truly believe that each and every last one of us, when we get to heaven and we see the quote unquote replay of our lives, through the Spirit, what we're going to see is that God sent us person after person after person after person after person over and over and over again. But we didn't know what we wanted. We didn't know much about ourselves. We were putting the other person down because they weren't that cute, or we have come up with all these preconceived notions, or we was hurt because of a last relationship, blah, blah, blah. And we were bypassing all these wonderful people that we could have been with. But if you don't understand it, if you don't understand what you want, how can you even move forward? You can't. You can't. Like I told people before, for me, because like I said, y'all, people that's hanging around me for a while, they know. So like one of the things for me is I want kids, right? So even though I'm in my 40s, I want kids. So when I run into a woman that might be even in her 30s and she's saying, well, I already got my kids, then okay, well, it was nice meeting you. Okay. And time to move on. Why? Because she doesn't have what I want. Now when I reach 50, I might change my tune on it. But for right now, I'm like, no, I'm gonna fight the good fight. But if you don't know what you want, then again, you're wasting your time. And again, that's what a lot of people do. They waste their time because they're going after these things and they just want the person in front of them. And let's be real, people are horny and they're lonely and all this other kind of stuff. And all those things do is cause bigger problems. So you got to know what you want and lean into that. And then the last thing is work on yourself every single day. I find, again, that a lot of people, they don't want to do that. They just want to be who they are. But I'm telling you straight up, God loves you, but even God does not accept you as you are right now. Every single person in the Bible had to get better. And that's what, again, why Paul was talking about that, about renewing his mind and about getting better. He was always talking about getting better, getting closer to God, doing more. We see times when God would take people through things in order to strengthen them. Okay, in order to get more lessons in them so that they will be stronger. We have to get around this American mindset that says, you're great just as you are. Oh my gosh, you're perfect. All right. Now, I'm not saying beat yourself up over it. Okay. I want to make sure I'm saying that. But what I'm saying is make little changes that you already know what you need to do. Okay. Lean into what you know you need to do and try to work on that. And then that's going to bless you in so many ways, way beyond just finding your person. It is going to bless you in so many ways. So anyway, that is my presentation. I now open it up for you guys to tell me that I am wrong and I am stupid. So we generally, if all the people that are new, we open it up and we literally just have conversation, and we will close it pretty much when people are just tired and they want to go home. But that's pretty much how we do. I mean, sometimes our conversations can go. I mean, right now in Atlanta, it is 12:25. And sometimes these conversations can go, what, Sean, 3-4 p.m., sometimes. So
yeah, we did a 5 o'clock one time, but Mostly we're at like 2:30. I think we're averaging now.
Yeah. So just let people know that we like to talk over here. And we do prefer you raise your hand. And if you want to talk to someone else, for instance, like if like Elizabeth has her hand up now, and I'm going to go to her once I finish. But say Elizabeth says something, and then you might raise your hand, and then you might want to talk to Elizabeth's point. So you don't always have to be talking directly to me. It can be to any CSC member. It's just that we ask that you raise your hand so we can keep it in order. And we generally try to keep, 2 or 3 minutes, or so for people to kind of express themselves because, we want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to talk. So that is my good friend Elizabeth, because I know that wonderful picture and that gorgeous smile. So come on, Elizabeth, and what do you have to say?
Hey Jay, so I have a question about, okay, one question's about the jelly bean slide, right? Another question, so I'll just interweave it into one thing. So the thing is that, I want to know, how do you know that the Holy Spirit is speaking to you, right? About whatever, like for, moving, like you described the example, you moved to a different county, because or it could be anything, okay? Like the thing is that the Holy Spirit, like the way, okay, I go back to scripture, okay? In the scripture, from what I remember, it says something about fruits of the Spirit. Like as long as you start following that and you live that, then the Holy Spirit, you can get closer to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. But then some people think that the Spirit talks to you through other people. So it could talk to you through your friends, your family, you need to start listening to people at church, all these things. The thing is that, people are saying different things. So my mom is saying one thing, my friend's saying something else, the Holy Spirit's telling me something else. The Spirit's not going to tell me 3 different things about one issue, So how do I know which one is right? And you know what I mean? Like, how do you know? Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Basically, the Holy Spirit can speak to you in multiple ways. But what I find is that the Holy Spirit generally speaks to you in the way that you yourself will be most impacted, if that makes sense. So, for instance, I'm trying to think, something that happened to me. But yeah, like when I was moving into this apartment, I went to a lot of evidently apartments because I'm trying to figure out which one I'm going to be in. And I kid you not, every single place I went, there was a sign, something there that was so appalling or so crazy that I couldn't even get beyond, the walkthrough. As soon as they would show me the apartment or leading up to the apartment, there would be something crazy happening outside. Or like I say, the person that I'm talking to would just be weird. They would just be weird in some kind of way. Maybe they were just having a bad day or something like that. Or I would try to go to a location and that location would be closed. They would say that they're going to be open all day on Saturday until like 4 o'clock. But then I would get there at 11 o'clock in the morning and then they would just have a sign, oh, we're closed today. Had an emergency. So what God was showing me was all these places I don't want you to be. You cannot be in any of these places because I could not literally achieve the move in those places. And then when I came to this apartment, what was really interesting about it was the last 2 days that I was looking, I have a spiritual mom, that prays for me. And she wanted to go looking with me because she lives in Cobb County. So I actually got with her and me and her started looking together because, I was, like I said, coming to Cobb. I wasn't dating nobody. So I'm like, I won't be myself. So, me and her started to go to different places together. And this particular apartment was the only one that when she walked in it, she was like, I can see you here. I feel that this is good. This is a nice place. We were able to get in. We had no problems. Nothing came up. No issues. It was almost like a perfect scenario. It was a perfect, quote unquote, people say storm is a bad thing, but it was a perfect scenario. And so through that, I felt like, okay, I can move. And then I had another time when I wanted to move. Actually, I wanted to quit my old job. And the Holy Spirit told me, you know, really in my spirit, I felt it as I walked. He said, you're not going anywhere. He said it dead in my spirit. It was like a human being is talking to me. And he was like, you're not going anywhere. And I was mad. Okay. And that's why I knew it wasn't for me, because I was mad. I was angry. And I, you know, ended up working that job a whole nother year and a half before God moved me out of there. But so that's why I was saying it can come to you in multiple ways. But for instance, if you try to move, say for instance, if you try to move to another city, if you can't make it happen, but you got to lean into the Holy Spirit though. You know, see, a lot of people ain't leaned into the Holy Spirit. And one of the things that I would encourage you all to do is to tell the Holy Spirit, you have control, I don't. So whatever it is that you want, you make that move, I will lean into that. Because what a lot of us do is when we do what we want to do, and then we want God to clean up the mess. So what I would encourage you to do is to literally make that declaration that, Holy Spirit, you do what you want to do in my life. And then what I found is when you do that, when you say that declaration and you lean into that declaration, like when I was trying to get this apartment, and even when I was trying to, you know, leave my job, God was like, no, no, no. And I got a lot of no's. You know, so if you've never gotten a no from God, like where you could hear it, see it, visualize it, then you might need to lean into the Holy Spirit a little bit more. But sometimes, yes, you know, you can also get it through, you know, other people, because I've had that as well. You know, where I was thinking about something, working on something, and then somebody came and it was like they started a conversation almost like they was reading my mind, even though I was like, I know I didn't tell you about this, but the way that they were talking let me know that, okay, I think God is saying this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. What's going on, Patty?
Yes. In a way, you have to be open to it, and you have to ask for help, for guidance. What I do is, if I don't know what to do or I'm confused, I always say, God or spirit guides or angel, whoever you want to talk to, show me a sign. And you just have to let it go, surrender yourself to it. And how it's going to feel is, for me, it's a combination between intuition or the gut feeling, and you just know it. You just know it. You will know that's the right answer. And it could come, as Jay said it could come to you in all different forms. Sometimes I don't know what to do, and I pray, and then I just let it go, and I sit in my car, and there's a song on the radio, and it might be a random song, by the lyrics literally tell me exactly what to do. It could be a phrase, it could be a sentence, but it's so like, you don't hear anything about the song, but you just hear that exactly sentence, and you are like, oh, that's what it is. And also, as Jay said, never force anything. If something is hard to do, if you are pushing and pushing and pushing, step back, relax, say, God, I surrender, show me a way. If this is not for me, show me what is for me. And you will get the right answer to it. And you can practice. Initially, it might be probably challenging. You might not be able to see it as much. But as you practice, as you trust it, you will see more and more and more. And it will feel very light. And you will just know in you. Like Jay said, it's like something is like talking not to you, but within you. It's like you are one with the thoughts or the message, whatever it is. You will know. It won't be just, oh, me thinking about something. You will know it is from above.
Thank you, Patty. I think that was to you, Elizabeth. Did you want to respond?
That was great. Thank you.
Also see, Elizabeth, you had put in the chat, because you were talking about, but Ruth had Naomi telling her the things to do to get Boaz. Well, I mean, that's what CSC is. We are your Naomi. So we're trying to help you to get to wherever your Boaz is. And it's like I said, not just me, you know, you can talk to the other guys, but I'm just being real. It's like, I've always believed that everybody can find everybody else, and that sometimes your best person might not necessarily be the person you thought about. But it's all about whether or not you can come together and, make it work. But I think that friendship has to be at the core. If friendship is not at the core, then that's really where the problem, to me stirs up. You have some more you want to say, Pat?
Yeah, just one more thing. If you want to learn more about it, read a book, Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. And she also uses Bible to explain it a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. So Alita says we need more wing people to help us. So let's talk about wing people for a second. So one of the ways, is she still on here? She might have left, but I'll say it for the people that are still on here. Excuse me. One of the great ways that you could do it, you could actually do it for CSC, even though I know a lot of us are spread out all over the world. But one of the things that I try to do, like I said, I went to an event last night, and I didn't just quote unquote focus on talking to women. I talk to anybody that's around me, including men. And if I find a really great connection with a man to say that, hey, we're the same type of person, we go to the same types of places, we're looking for the same types of things, then I'll get their number because they want to go out just like me. Now, the key to that, ladies and gentlemen, is not to get a person that is so drop dead gorgeous that they're going to make you look like leftovers compared to them. So you want to make sure that you find somebody that is more on your speed. But I would encourage you, like I say, exchange phone numbers with, people of the same sex that you can go out with, because, that might help you as well. See, one of my problems is like JL's on here now. He's actually from CSC, and Sean Williams is on here, and they from CSC, and both of them are leaders. JL's in Charlotte, and Sean Williams is here in Georgia. And so it's hard for me to go out with either one of them because the women, as soon as they see both of them, they just fall out, and they just be having, it's like fans. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't hang out with these two men. I got to get me some ugly men that can be my wing dude. Sean, did you have something you want to say?
I did, but go ahead, bro. I'm no Denzel, so oh goodness. Go ahead. You can go ahead. I'll raise my hand later on.
Rebecca says, okay, I'm guilty of not going on dates that much, but I've heard it's by dating a lot. And yes, to a degree, I would say that. You really just kind of want to get out, get your groove going, and then that also helps you in the whole dating process. But I think your goal has to be married and not to be a really great dater. Because, and see, that's one of the problems that I feel with a lot of people in social media is that they're teaching everyone, both men and women, they're teaching us to be great daters, but not to be husbands or wives. Because when you're a husband or wife, you go quick. You're in and out quick. Like every woman I've dated has told me, she told me straight up, she was just like, you're the type of man that you marry. They would all tell me that, you're the type of man that you marry. And I would say most of them, have literally let me know, through the conversations that they would marry me if I asked them. And you have to say, why? Why is it? Because I'm walking in husband energy. It's not because I'm all there in a bag of chips. I'm not a great guy. I'm not awesome or whatever. Like I say, I consider myself, pretty average. But the fact that I walk in husband energy, the women can feel it. And so when they're with me, they feel safe. They feel like they're not going to be hurt. They feel like, what I'm saying is a good way to lead. And so because of that, it makes them feel safe. But I'll be honest, all the women that I've dated, I think 3 walked in wife energy. And that was the main reason why I walked away from most of them, was because they didn't walk in wife energy. They didn't want to basically be a wife. They were still walking in girlfriend because they did not understand that wifey duties and girlfriend duties are totally different. And just a really quick way to understand that is that a wife takes ownership. Like, say, for instance, Miss Rebecca, and I'm pick on some people. So say you, Miss Rebecca, started to talk to my best friend, Tim, up there, right? So if you are talking to each other and you guys are leaning towards marriage, you're going to come in and you're going to start to take ownership. You're going to be concerned about Tim's health. You're going to be concerned about where he's going, what is he doing, what is he putting his money to. These become concerns because his money is your money. His health is your health. Okay, so that's what a wife does. A wife is coming in, and she is literally almost like coming in. I don't want to quite say like a mother, but she's coming in, she's taking ownership. She's coming into his house and saying, wow, everything around here could be mine in a year. How do I take care of it? See, a wife is not trying to go on the most expensive date in Atlanta. You know, because Atlanta, you can spend $300 a night here just taking a woman out. You can. I'm just being real. You can spend more than that, to be honest with you. So, because you got places like literally it's $100 just to eat. So a woman who's a wife, she don't want to spend that money unless she's just that type of person that she really does like to go out and have fun. But if she, you know, but there are women out in Atlanta that they just want to spend your money. That's all they want to do. They just want to spend your money. They want to go to the best restaurant on you. But when a woman just wants to go to a best restaurant on a man, she's in girlfriend energy. Now, if it's her birthday or if she's just a foodie, see, these are different things. And that's why people get so confused and they get in the weeds. Then it might be different. She still might want to go to that really great restaurant. But she sees your money as her money. She sees your future as her future. So she's not coming, same thing a man. A man comes in, you know, like once I've been around a woman for probably about 6 or 7 weeks, yeah, we're going to start talking about your credit report. we're gonna start talking about, okay, well, where you going with your life? Because at that point, I'm coming in like a husband, right? So those are the things that, you know, I just want to put up there. I know Sean has something to say about it. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was just looking in the chat, and somebody wrote that they're struggling with trust issues. And then I was reminded of your presentation where you talked about finding your purpose. And one of the things that I've learned over like the past 2 months and talking to, I don't know, maybe I've talked to about 50 single men and women. There's a lot of people that truly do not understand what their purpose is that God has for their life while they exist on this earth. And if you have a purpose, and you know what that is and you're operating in that purpose, then you're fully convinced that God has got you and there will be no trust issues, you know, because there will be no fear. So, and I think we got to get back to like really just operating in our purpose, knowing what that is, you know. And one of the things I've learned from studying the Bible is that God has got 2 goals for every single human being: love God, love people. Serve God, serve his people. So whatever purpose he has for you, it will do those 2 things. It will serve him and it will serve his people. But in doing that, you know, if you're serving people, they're going to disappoint you. That's just life. Nobody's perfect. You know, that's just a part of life. You know, it's how we reframe it or how we handle it that determines, are we going to move forward or are we just going to be stuck and left behind? So I would encourage each one of us to really just find out what that purpose is. And it may not be something that you think is all grandiose or whatever. Is there something that you have a natural ability to do that would serve people? That's all it is. You know, God has given us, you know, talents that we're born with, but we still have to develop the skill if we're going to serve his people. You know, we have to take that talent and we have to develop it. And Jay talked about every day we need to get better. So every day we need to get better in that skill or that talent by practicing it on a regular basis. And of course, we're going to make mistakes. I mean, you know, that's all I got to say about that, you know, so to speak. But I would encourage everybody, if you don't understand or if you're not sure on the thing that God has put you on this earth to accomplish, because only you can do it. Everybody is unique and different, and only you can do it because there is no one else in this world that can be you. To just figure out what that is and put it to the test. Will it bring you closer to God and will it serve his people? That's all I got to say.
No, that was great, Sean. I appreciate that. Come on, Danielle. Do you know how to unmute?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So one of my questions is, where would you go? You guys might have covered this, I'm not sure, during the talk. I came on a little late, but where do you go to meet people? And I'm interested in anybody's perspective. And then also, I think JL, you said, because he's in Charlotte and I live in Raleigh, Durham. And so, like, I'll go out and I'll meet people if I go somewhere, but I don't necessarily meet Christian men. Because if I were to go to, like, it feels like the easiest thing to do would be to go to church and meet somebody there. Then not everybody in church is Christian or, is going to be a good partner. But there's some suggestion that they might be Christian. Whereas if I go to other places, then they may not necessarily be a Christian. So just how does a woman, make sure they're in spaces where they're going to have the opportunity to meet Christian men?
Well, first of all, I would say, and again, this is open to everybody, like she said. So if you have some feedback, you can give her. Well, first thing I would say is remember, you're new to the channel. So, you have energy that goes before you, right? So, and remember, God is working for you as well. So he's going to help you to move into spaces where a really great person might be right next to you. So you might be in a grocery store and the guy behind you is looking at you 2 and 3 times over his shoulder, and you can say, hey, hello, how you doing? That might be the guy. Women need to understand that a lot of men are not these super players, that you see on television. That's why we talk so much about media. The average man is actually shy. He doesn't know how to talk to women. Okay. And you really want him to be that way, because a lot of men, if they really understood that skill, then they would be players and they would be trying to be with every woman. You really don't want men to develop that skill. So if you notice a man noticing you and you think he's halfway decent, you can say, hey, how you doing? Good evening, good afternoon, whatever. Another thing that you can do, like you mentioned, church. Okay, one of the things that I would say in church is you need to join some of the organizations. That's a really great way to meet men. And I like that because I believe the best way for a woman to really evaluate a man is by watching him, not necessarily by dating him. And old school women understood this. They would sit back and they would watch a man in the community, and then they would figure out the type of man that he is, and then they would try to join themselves to him. But many times today, what we're trying to do is always get on the date. And the date might not always be, the best thing up front. You see what I'm saying? So Danielle, you can sit, and if you join a group, like for me, I was in the middle school ministry for 5 years. And I'll be honest, and I was always very surprised at it, because there was probably about 3 women for every man that was in the middle school ministry, and over half of the men were married. And I was one of the few that wasn't married. And I made sure that I made conversation with a lot of the women. And I think only really one truly showed interest. And it was amazing to me. And I think that there is a thing, and we could talk more about that, but that's not really what this conversation is about. But when women kind of are able to watch you, they can see how you act in the place. And the guy that was the pastor, because like 1 or 2 people had asked about me. It wasn't a woman, but it was just, in general. And because they were trying to say that I was mean and all this other kind of crap, because like I said, if you don't know me, I can come off a little bit strict. And the guy was like, y'all don't know anything about Jay. They was like, this is a pastor. He was like, Jay bends over backwards, more for half of the people in here. But I am not necessarily the most social butterfly. And that's kind of what I was saying before, like with Sean Williams. Sean Williams is a lot more of a social butterfly. Like he'll tell you he has never met a stranger. Well, to me, all y'all strangers. Everybody's stranger. So when I am put in certain situations, I'm not necessarily the most friendly and lively. However, if you watch my motions, if you see how I handle situations, I generally go into a situation and solve it. And then I walk out. And so, like for you, Danielle, if you watch men, you can see a lot of times how they're working. And a lot of times the man that you might have bypassed before, he might actually be the very man that you should talk to. Does that make sense? But again,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
but one of my questions is, how do I even end up in the space where I would meet the man that would have bypassed me before? So I mean, kind of just like numbers. Like maybe I'll go to, okay, so I heard you say you might meet somebody in the grocery store, but like I was working out of town, and when I was out of town, it just happened to be a place where it's kind of like an isolated rural place. So I wasn't meeting people there. So where can I go to actually be in the space to encounter, other men?
Well, like
Not that I'm seeking them out, just not actually like seeking them out, but just where do men go,
Well, I would believe, like I said, again, other people can chime in. You just go to the places that you normally go to that you normally enjoy. So, for instance, if you're a museum lady, you go to the museum. If you're an botanical gardens lady, you go to the botanical gardens. You go to the places that you normally would go to. The thing I'm encouraging you to do is that when you meet a man, when you see a man, when a man is trying to talk to you, talk to him. Don't be quiet. See, that's the thing that I've noticed is that a lot of women, they only talk to the man they think they want. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is to talk to pretty much everybody. And if somebody continues in the conversation, talk to them for 10 or 15 minutes. Then you can make an excuse if you're not feeling them on a place to go. Like, for instance, here in Atlanta, they have the High Museum. Some of us, we do that event every once in a while. Well, downstairs, everybody's partying. But as you go through the High Museum at the upper levels, you actually go through the museum part. Well, there'll be situations, and I've seen it, where a man is very close to a woman. He'll try to talk to her, say, "Hey, how you doing?" And then the woman just ignores him or quickly nods or something, and then she just kind of scampers off. She does not want to engage with him. She is not trying to talk to him because maybe he doesn't look like what she's looking for. But what I'm trying to say is you don't know his heart. And that's why I talk about sexual energy, is because a lot of times people lean into their sexual energy and the sexual energy hasn't worked for you because otherwise you'd be married. So you might need to give the opportunity for yourself to talk to other people and see if there could be something there. I'm not saying it has to be. A 15-minute conversation is not me telling you to go on a date with them. It's not me telling you to try to test him out as a boyfriend. It is just me saying a guy comes up to you or he's next to you, wherever it is, on the subway, on an Uber ride, on, in a grocery store, in the mall, next to you in Six Flags, and you guys have a conversation. If you're not feeling him, oh, thank you, see you later, and you walk off. If you are feeling him, you continue the conversation, and then you see whether or not, he'll ask you for, your number. But don't ask for his number. I don't believe women should ask for their number, for a man's number. Let him show you that he has some manliness. Because if you try to do too much, then you can end up in a situation where you're kind of like the man in a relationship and he's kind of like the female in a relationship. And that generally don't make too many people happy. But does that help? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that helps.
A little bit.
I agree with it. I think a lot of the stuff that you said, I agree with. Like, I don't like to I like for the man to take the lead. Even if I see someone and I find that they're attractive, I'm interested in the man who's going to take the lead and is demonstrating that he's interested in me. But I'm really interested in learning about more social settings that I could go to so that I'm not, because I think you might have even said it, earlier in some way that, I'm not going to meet somebody sitting in the house, and I want to try to expand the settings that I'm going to.
Yeah. And I agree to that. And Natalie says in the chat, go to places you like, but look approachable. And that's kind of part of what I'm saying too. Make eye contact, talk to them. Here is a way you can find people in your house. All right. So if you just got to be in your house, here's a way to do it. So you can do, back in the day, they called these potlucks, the new generation might want to say something different. We're always changing these words, but you could do a potluck at your house. You can also do where everybody get $20 or $10, and you can order some pizza or some tacos or DoorDash, whatever it is you want, Chinese food. And what you do is you have a little party at your house. You can start with 3 of your girlfriends. So 3 of your single girlfriends and yourself, and then you basically have everybody to bring or to tell their guy friend that they have put in the friend zone. Because women, y'all know y'all put men in the friend zone. So get those good men that you know is in the friend zone, and you have them to come to the party. And by doing so, what you do is you are creating a little environment of a 4 or 5, 10, 15, or whatever, because it can grow, of singles. And they can just come to your house. And I would say do this about once a month or once every other month. You don't want to do it multiple times in a month because you want to make it special. And then everybody has to recognize and be okay with, people dating in that group. And they also have to be okay with, you like, look, I ain't saying you got to date Sean Williams, Danielle. This is just my friend. Now, once y'all date, that's on you. You make sure you good. All right. I'm introducing you to Sean Williams. I'm telling you he's a nice guy. I'm introducing you to JL. I'm introducing you, to Todd or whatever. But that's on you. Once y'all date, that's on you. And I know, because I know a lot of people, they don't like the liability. Then, hey, well, you introduced me to this guy or you introduced me to this woman and it didn't work out. Well, no, you got your feelings all up in it. Okay. Because a person is supposed to gather their own data and they have to do their own thing. So when you invite and create that circle, people have to take the responsibility, okay, of whatever it is that they need to do. All right. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Let me ask Danielle a question. Are you willing to go on a date or just go out with somebody that you're not physically attracted to?
Yeah, I'm pretty open. I mean, the feedback that I've gotten, either from guy friends that I have or just men that I meet when I'm out, is that I'm very approachable. And I think that's taken time because I didn't experience that. I didn't get a lot of feedback like that when I was younger. But yes, I'm told I'm very approachable, that I have like a feminine energy or like a good catch, like a maybe wife material or something like that. This is just I'm not being boastful or anything. I'm just literally saying the feedback that I've gotten from guy friends. So, and I'm also really open to meeting different types of people because I realize that the qualities that I'm looking for are not necessarily based on how somebody looks. So what I find really attractive about somebody is their character. So all that to say, yes, I'm open to talking to different types of people, even if at the outset it's not the guy that I would have said that I would have seen across the room and said, "Oh, he's gorgeous."
Then I mean, if that's the case, then like Natalie said, you just have to just do the things you like and go to the places that you like. Somebody's going to come across your path because you're a reasonably attractive person, according to your picture. So my thinking is that guys will approach you. But isn't there like a big mega church? I'm trying to think of this guy's name. I have a bunch of family in Raleigh. I have a nephew, and my nephew is 32, and he goes to this big mega church out there. That has a lot of single people. Oh God, I can't even remember the name of this church.
I think that's helpful. Like, I think like the potluck idea is really good, or like I think would be helpful for me. Or finding a church with more people in it rather than being at a small church where there's, just like 15 people and they're much older or something like that. And I find that men do approach me. But if we consider that only a certain percentage of people in the world are Christian, then not all of the people that approach you are going to be Christian. So I guess that's what I don't have trouble meeting men. I find I'm approachable, but it's just that I would like for someone will approach me and then I got to take time to figure out if they're a Christian or not. And sometimes they're not. So.
Well, I mean, you can do that, but here's something. This is controversial. What I'm about to tell you, I already know it's going to be controversial. I already know about 5 people going to beat me up as soon as I say it. But, you can actually date more than one man at a time. Dating means data. It don't mean that you're kissing them. It don't mean you're holding your hand. And a lot of women I run into really don't like that, but it allows you to get through a lot more men a lot quicker. Because it's just like you said, I mean, you're trying to find out whether or not they're Christian. But I mean, you can honestly ask that really on the first phone conversation or whenever you talk. I actually believe that people should talk at least 1 hour on the phone before they go out on a date. And that could just be one of your first questions. And the answer I would basically tell you to look for is if a man says, okay, he'd be like, oh, Danielle, girl, I'm Christian. You met me in the church. And then, you could be like, oh, well, that's so great, because I really love, talking to Christian men. It's just so hard because, when I listen to my Christian playlist, I mean, it's like I really want somebody else to bump some of this music with me. What's your favorite Christian song? And then if he's like, well, I like Kirk Franklin, then he ain't Christian. I tell you right there, he ain't Christian. Because a Christian is going to be sold out to Jesus a little bit more than the average person. So if somebody ain't going to, all they're doing is going to church, they never read their Bible, they're never praying, they're never listening to gospel music or Christian music, they ain't not Christian. They just talking mess. So, but you have to phrase it in a way in which it's just natural conversation. You can't phrase it in a way that you like, prove to me you Christian. Name 3 Christian songs. So now, you're coming across, combative and insecure and all this other kind of stuff. But you can generally figure people out, within 2 or 3 conversations and honestly within an hour. A lot of times, like I tell people, I talk to women on the phone for an hour and I can generally tell whether or not I want to go out with them. And generally after the first date, especially after 2 dates, I know whether or not I think we're going to make it. So that's just something else I wanted to say. I saw you had your hand up, Patty, but I'm going to come back to you. And I was going to say, Gigi says, okay, I walk in wife energy already. So what else could I be doing wrong? One of the things, again, is you have to make sure that you're going after husband energy men. All right. And a lot of women, I think they don't quite understand that a lot of the men that you naturally come across, kind of like what Danielle is saying, are not husband quality men. They're not. A man that is husband quality, he's coming to you and he's literally almost, it's going to happen within the first 2 or 3 dates, the first 2 or 3 weeks, he is naturally going to start to take over. Okay. He is going to start to become your husband even before he becomes your husband. He is going to, I mean, seriously, it's like if you are leaving out and you get a flat tire, he's going to be concerned about it. It's not going to be like, oh, okay, well, you're going to be here by 6, right? But, I got a flat tire. Okay, 6:30. I'll see you then. That's not a dude that's walking in husband energy. If he starts to see things like this, he's going to be concerned. He's going to wonder, and like I said, you have to think about a husband. And if you've never been married, I would say think about your father. And if you've never, if you didn't have a father in your life, you have to think about it from the perspective of somebody who is out here trying to protect you. And see, that's one of the things why, like, I know Patty will agree with me on this one, because there's a term, that I'm sapiosexual. There's this term that's called sapiosexual. And so basically what that means is I fall in love with people's minds. I fall in love with their character, you know, kind of like what Danielle said. I would rather a woman have a mind that is a 10, have sweetness and kindness that's a 10, and then her outside could be a 6 out of 10, versus a woman that is a 10 on the outside, but then she's a 6 as far as her personality and her kindness on the inside. And one of the problems with media is it makes us believe that the handsome person is actually the good person. But like here in Atlanta, I'm gonna tell y'all straight up, here in Atlanta, recently, they had 2 guys that worked in the church. They just looked like normal, nice, good old-fashioned Christian men. And they found out that they were into child pornography. They had molested children. I mean, what do you think child molesters look like? Do you think that they're skinny old men? I'm gonna get you, little girl. No, they don't look like that. They look like good-looking men. Some of the worst people in our society are ugly. I mean, I'm sorry, are pretty, are gorgeous. A gorgeous man don't mean nothing. What is his heart? Where is his mind? Does he open a door for you?
Yeah.
Does he do anything for you? Or is he like, girl, you got to get your own because I'm over here, I'm getting mine. A man that is walking in protection energy, it is just like protecting a puppy, protecting a baby, protecting anything. He sees you as precious and he is trying to protect you. Okay? And I think women have to kind of understand that media teaches you all backwards. The man that media teaches you all to go after is the exact man you should run away from. All right, so who had their hand up and put it down? Patty, did you have your hand back up and you put it back down?
Well, you covered everything what I wanted to say, but I'm just going to add for Danielle. There are a lot of meetup groups you can join. I don't know if those men that you will be meeting will be Christian, but you can just ask them. You know, I don't think people mind asking if somebody's Christian or not. Also, I would join different clubs or start a new hobby. You will meet a lot of people. That's what I have done. I have met a lot of people. And I didn't meet my husband, but you never know who those people will know. And also, I gave that example a long time ago in this group. One of my friends, she was looking for a husband, and she was telling everybody that she's looking for a husband, she's available. Not like just start a conversation with that sentence, but she was just being honest and told people that she's looking for somebody. And sure enough, one of her friends knew somebody who introduced her to this gentleman, and now they've been married for like a few years now. So be open about it. You know, there's no shame in saying that you are single and you are interested in meeting somebody who would be interested in you.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, Patty, because that's another thing. And that's why we really have to get away from this mindset where we don't take accountability. Because like I said, if I introduce Patty, you know, to somebody, if I introduce Patty to Todd, and then, you know, it doesn't work out or Todd mistreats Patty, and then Patty comes back to me like, well, Jay, you know, the guy you introduced me to, you know, he took advantage of me and blah, 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 blah. Okay, did he really, or did you allow him to? You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying you particular, Pat, I'm using you as an example.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it more from the perspective of there is an accountability within you when you're talking to another person. So like I say, if somebody is trying to set me up with somebody, like they're trying to set me up with Elizabeth, then I'm going to still evaluate Elizabeth. Exactly. It is not going to be, oh, I'm just going to take Patty's word at it or whoever's word at it. I'm still going to go through and I'm going to evaluate, are me and Elizabeth compatible? And see, one of the problems is, and I'm going to be real, and I know JL might have something to say about it, in love. But this is why it's very, you know, important, you know, and I'm always encouraging you guys to move slow when it comes to sex. All right? Because see, that's when people get their feelings hurt. And because they do something too early when they weren't committed and all this other kind of stuff, and then it don't work out. And now people hurt, right? So that's why I slow it down. I tell people, slow it down. Don't be so quick to do that. In fact, you really shouldn't be doing it anyway. All right. And so that is that thing. But if you decide to do it, that's your thing. That's your groove. Take accountability. You did that. Nobody else told you to do that. You did that. And that's one of the main things I talk about a lot in this group. Okay, come on, Tim.
This may sound kind of comical. It's kind of hard to talk about this, but right now I'm kind of I'm in the friend mode. And that's fine. I'm okay with that because you get to learn more about people the more you stay friends with them. And the friends are very valuable. But I got like 2 or 3 women that like to, they have boyfriends, but they like to call me to talk to me about the problems they're having with their boyfriends. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not your father. I don't know what to say to you because it's between you and your boyfriend. It's none of my business. No, but you're so wise. You know a lot about the Bible. I said, well, that doesn't have anything to do with it. What do you want me to do? I mean, so like, well, he did this and he did that and he's terrible. I'm like, well, I don't understand then. Why are you with him? Because it's just, I can tell him off on the internet. But then if I meet him in person, he looks at me with those eyes and he goes, baby, I never meant to hurt you. And I just melt. I'm like, yeah, but he sounds like a player. But if you know that, then don't see him in person. And it's where the other one will say, well, I want a man that's just like you. You're fantastic, but I don't want you. But I want a man that's just like you. How do I find that man? I'm like, I don't know. I can't answer that question. Well, you don't have the answers. I said, I'm not the guru in love. I'm having enough trouble trying to get dates. I don't know what you or want from me. Then they get offensive. I thought, well, I thought you were going to support me. And I thought, well, I learned a long time ago when I tell someone to do something and they do it, then it doesn't work out. It's like, well, you said this and you said that. And I'm sort of like, so I don't want to get in people's business. But then they think I don't care. And I'm like, well, but I guess what hurt me the most, the reason I'm talking about it is I've had several say, you know, you're a great guy and you wear your heart out on your sleeve and you're so sensitive and caring. I really like you. You're talented, but I don't want you, but I want someone just like you. I'm kind of like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Well, I'm looking for your qualities, but not you. So, okay, I can accept that. But it's just strange to me. I don't want to be a sounding board, you know, for people that are having trouble with their boyfriends. I don't like that. But I also want to be supported. I do care about people and I'm a good listener, but I just don't know what to do. I got mad the other day and said, listen, I can't deal with this. You made your bed, you lay in it. I have enough problems. I was not in a good mood. So they said, oh, excuse me, but I just was tired of hearing it. You know,
I'll be honest, Tim. I mean, you better than 99% of the men out here because I would encourage you, don't deal with a woman's problems when it comes to another man.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get
you don't do that. Yeah. As soon as they start talking to you about it, it's like, look, if it ain't about me and you together, then why are we talking? Now, if y'all are good friends and you've always been good friends, and you've been childhood friends, it's different. But generally speaking, you know, you just want to stay away from that. And what women are talking about, like I said, is that woman that you're talking about, she's leaning into her sexual energy. That's why I was talking about that before.
Right. Okay.
She's leaning into her sexual energy. It's about what she wants sexually. So she sees these men that treat her like crap. And these men are the sexual energy that she wants. That's what she desires. That's what she fantasizes about. And it's actually very difficult for a lot of women to change that. That's actually a grueling process for a lot of women. Like I said, that's like learning to walk all over again. And so she's saying, okay, I want this really handsome guy who really does the energy of what I want, but I want him to be nice like you. I want him to be kind like you. I want him to, take care of me like you would. And so that is literally, that's kind of what I'm saying. That's like returning back to the vomit. You're believing that the guy, just because he's attractive, he's going to be the good guy. And, because that's what TV tells you. But 9 times out of 10, I even say it even about women. 9 times out of 10, if the woman is drop dead gorgeous, and I know Sean Williams used to talk about this all the time. I mean, I think he's dropped off, but he used to talk about this all the time. He actually wouldn't even date them. He wouldn't even try to go up to them because he found that most of them were such jerks that he didn't want to be bothered with it. He didn't want to go through the process. Now, I find that it's more about where the woman was, you know, in her youth. Because just because you think somebody is handsome or gorgeous doesn't mean they see themselves that way. So I find that really pretty women are really, you know, quote unquote, handsome men can be some of the most humble people, but it just depends upon, do they walk in humbleness or do they walk in arrogance? So I did want to hit these 1 or 2 questions, and then I'll get to you, Natalie. So Kundi says, is there a period of time, I'm hoping you're still there because I saw your video and then your video went away, but I'm still going to answer your question. Is there a period of time to allow for speaking to different people before you decide? I don't think that there is a quote unquote period of time, but I don't understand why you would move slow. You know, again, you know, what's the purpose of that? So for me, if I'm talking to 2 women, I'm probably going to be talking to them, dating them, and have probably decided everything within 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm going to be on the, because I'm going to want to have a phone conversation. So like say, for instance, I go out to a meetup or I go out to an event, I meet 2 women. Within 2 to 3 days, I am going to try to text/call them. At that point, within generally 7 days, depending upon where the weekend falls, you know, so it could be 7 to 10 days, I will try to get on a date with them. All right. After I have dated them, you know, if a woman is really, if both of them are really great and they're both awesome, then they might get a second date. All right. But by the time I get to the second date, I'm going to feel myself leaning more towards one woman generally than the other. And, you know, at that point, a lot of times, you know, even the woman might take herself out of the game at that point because maybe she's not giving me as much attention. Maybe, you know, she's texting me back whenever she get good and ready. Or maybe she just doesn't want to talk on the phone with me but 15 minutes. And so she's kind of taking herself out of the game. So generally, there's a portion of me making a decision and then the other person is making a decision. So that's why I say, you know, 2 to 3 weeks generally is enough time. And like I say, if you're dating one person, let's say, like I said, you got guy A and B, you go on a date with guy A, you know, the next week and guy B the next week, but then guy A takes himself out the game. He's like, okay, you know, that was a nice date, but he doesn't call you back. And then you go to the grocery store that evening and you meet guy C. Well, you can talk to guy C because guy B, he don't have no ring on your finger. You haven't started a relationship yet. So unless you just all super feeling guy B, you can talk to guy C. But I believe that as soon as you start holding hands, as soon as you start, you know, kissing a little bit or whatever, that's when you just need to be with that one person. Okay? Because that's when, you know, feelings really start to get in and different things like that. That's at least what, you know, how I feel about it. So hopefully you heard that. I know you were away. And I guess we could talk about it again if it comes up. Yeah, I think, Danielle, are you talking about boundaries in dating? Because you brought up boundaries, because I know there's a book, Boundaries in Dating. There's a guy that comes on here all the time. Also, Gigi, real quick, and then I'm going to go to you, Natalie. Because these were just people that put up before you put your hand up. Gigi says, you know, sounds to me like you were describing a controlling man to me at first. And what I think, again, people need to understand is a father, okay, we even think about God. Does God not have rules and regulations? Does he not tell you what, you know, he wants you to do, right? But at the same time, he does it in love. That's why I'm always talking about being a servant leader, a servant leader. A wife, I mean, a woman's life should be easier with a servant leader man. Okay, it should be easier. It should not be harder. All right, you should feel safer. You should feel better about yourself. You should feel good. If a man is beating you up, if he's tearing you down, if he says you're not attractive and you're just ugly, and you know you should just, you know, you just gotta face it because don't nobody out here love you but me. That is not a good man. You don't need to be with him. Okay, and if you need help, that's when you look at the character of Jesus. Look at the character of Jesus. Okay. But when you look at the character of Jesus, I want you to take the whole character of Jesus, not just the loving kind, not just oh, let me cover your sins. Not just the fact that, oh, let me hold you and make sure that you're okay. And then let's, talk through your problems. Because there were people that came to Jesus and they said, Jesus, I need to go and bury my daddy. And Jesus was like, no, let the dead bury their dead. You follow me right now. So you have to understand the full character. All right. And a good man is going to be, like I said, you got to kind of understand that there is a little bit of control, but there's not so much control that you're going to lose yourself and that you're not going to feel comfortable. And it's like I said, and that's why I know it's hard when you don't have a father, you didn't have a really good relationship with your father, or you didn't really have a good relationship with any man, older man, that did not want anything from you. Okay, so it's really more difficult. It's a lot more difficult if you never had a man who never wanted anything from you. All he wanted to do is give you love, because that's what your father is supposed to do. He's supposed to give you love. It's supposed to be unconditional love. And when a woman feels that and understands that, when she finds a man, that's really what she should be looking for. But media is trying to twist women's minds to go after men that are bad for them. But the best thing that you can ever say in your spirit is that the guy that I'm dating, he acts like my really great, awesome, loving father that I had growing up. If you can say that about the man that you're with, you've actually found your husband. You have found a gem. Okay, come on, Natalie. That's my girl, Natalie, boy.
You're so silly. I have a comment to make that Danielle was talking about and she brought up. And she mentioned something about not finding like Christian men. So I'm not saying that this is you, because I don't know your path and how you're meeting the men and, introducing yourself or getting in conversation. But I would strongly encourage not so much dismissing men just because they're not Christian off bat. And I say this because for two reasons. Once upon a time, I was atheist, and it took me to have a situation to happen in my own life to where I was just like, okay, no, I need something higher and something bigger than just me. And it took one person to bring me to their church. And then instantly I just was like, this is where I need to be. So slowly but surely, I started incorporating Christianity more and more into my life. And then I also know a situation of one of my friends. She's not non-denominational, but she's Seventh-day Adventist. And she met her now husband while he didn't really have a faith. He kind of believed in God, but he didn't really go to church and he wasn't really practicing and reading the Bible like that. But amongst them, hanging out and becoming friends is when he slowly started opening his heart to God and the Lord and being interested in going to church. And now they're raising two kids in the Seventh-day Adventist household, with them going to church all the time and like him having faith and stuff like that. So I'm just saying all that, just so to give you encouragement to just, and not to say again that you're dismissing people just because they're not Christian, but just, opening your heart to where other people might be in their faith and their journey and walking in Christianity or just faith in period. And just possibly you could be the one introducing them to a part of their life that they didn't know if it wasn't for you. So that could be also what God is calling you to do for someone else.
Cool. I think, go ahead, Danielle. Did you want to say something, Danielle? Because you're unmuted.
Oh, I wanted to reply and just say thanks to Natalie for her response.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I said, I think that, there's a lot of things that, we can all do, to find our person. But the main thing is, I would just say, be open, be open. We have to remind ourselves to be open and yeah, just kind of make sure that we're doing that. And I love, like I say, even kind of what Natalie's saying, even about non-Christian men or whatever, but I think that, like I say, I mean, that's just great. There's so many wonderful people. I think the hardest part really for a lot of people is to get over the beauty thing and to get over and just to find somebody with like paths. I think that's the hardest thing. It's just the like paths. And then some of us, and we have to be honest about ourselves, is that we might be in a little bit more strained situations. You know, and what do I mean by that? I mean that, for instance, if you are, you know, a person that's a vegetarian, okay, most people aren't vegetarians. So that makes it a little bit more difficult today. For me, I still want children, and even though I'm in my 40s, and a lot of women that are in their 30s and 40s already have children, and they don't want anymore. So that is something I have to think about. You know, you have other people that, like I say, they are 100% solid, saying, I am going to go to another city or I am going to stay in my city. And we actually had a situation right there where there was a couple that could have been together, but, you know, the guy was like, no, I'm going overseas. You know, I got to do X, Y, Z, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that was just, it couldn't work because, you know, now they want to go separate paths. So it's like the more open you are, it makes it a little bit easier. But the more you're like, it's got to be my way. I got to have this. I got to have that. Especially as you get older, I find that those things really kind of lock you in, because a lot of times, and here's something real quick, and I'm gonna go to you, Patty, because I was just literally talking to this with my spiritual mom. If you, as a woman, right, or a man, right, if you buy a house, so if JL bought a house, right, and Danielle's up in Raleigh, so say JL and Danielle get to start dating, and Danielle has already purchased, you know, her dream home. It's sitting on 4 acres, exactly like she thought it was supposed to be. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then JL has a house in Charlotte or whatever, and then they're going to get married, right? Both of them really need to sell their homes. And they need to buy a new home together, one that neither one of them has claim to. And see, that helps you, but here's the problem. People hold on to the home. Oh, but this is my dream home. You don't understand all the work I had to do. You don't understand, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what's more important? Your husband or your house? But I put so much work. Your husband or your house? The most important things in your life, God first, then your person. So if you're a man, that's your wife. Your wife comes next. If you're a woman, your husband comes next. All right? Then the children, all the other kind of stuff. So if your house is more important than your person, don't get married. If your car is more important than your person, don't get married. If your children, if you cannot get in your mind that your children are going to come second to your man, and I understand that has to grow. Don't get me wrong. That has to grow. You have to work on that. That's not going to happen overnight. But if you cannot fathom ever allowing a man to come into your life that will be more important than your children, you don't need to get married. Marriage says, okay, that the person you're with is more important than anybody else except for God. All right? And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times those are the reasons why we're holding on to things. We're holding on to this stuff that we think is important. And it's not important. It's not more important than your person. And if you believe that God cannot see that in your heart, you're fooling yourself. You cannot pray for God to send you someone and say, oh, God, send me my person. Send me the person I'm looking for. And then God's looking dead in your heart. And he's like, yeah, Danielle, you're not going to give up that house. And all the men I was sending your way, they're going to make you sell that house. So it ain't nothing I can do, boo. I'm sorry. You just going to have to deal with the singleness a little bit longer. See, God can't move you. He can't change you. You have to be open, fully open. And that's one of the things that I see, especially as people get older, because they amass stuff. And remember, you can't take your stuff out of this world. All this stuff is worthless. And if you really want to play God with that, and I really don't want y'all to ever play God with that, test him on that. And see all the people on TV that are crying in front of their burned down houses where they've lost everything. Okay, so don't play around with God on that. Okay, because God will test you on that. You have to put God first. Then you put your person second, then your children, okay, then friends and family, all the way down. And your job, because a lot of people are in love with their job. The job ain't nothing. You can get another job. Okay, but your person will be there for you, or at least supposed to be there for you for the rest of your life. Come on, Patty.
Just a side thought, since we are talking about dating in 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, I think a little bit another challenge is when you are in your 20s, we assume everybody's single. So nobody feels uncomfortable approaching another person because most of the time, 99% of the time, a person will be single. So you can just start the conversation. You assume they are available. When we are 30s, 40s, 50s, we don't, even though a lot of people do wear a wedding ring, but a lot of people don't. And when we see somebody even on the street or somewhere, we don't know if that person is single or not. And it's kind of hard to go and approach a person because you just don't want to embarrass yourself. So I think that's another challenge.
Well, I definitely agree to that, because I know for me, as you know, I've actually had that happen a couple of times. But Patty, all you got to do is just, you know, flick your hair, give him a smile, back to eyelashes, and see what he'll do. That's what Jenny does. Jenny does that every time.
Go, Jenny.
She finally turned the camera on, so I had to mess with her. Okay. So yes, ma'am, Walton County. I don't know, you don't have your full name up.
My name is Alonda.
Alondra.
Alonda. There you go. I kind of disagreed with what you just shared in relation to having property and having to get rid of it for the sake of a relationship. I think it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both. You can put your house on the market as a rental property for both couples. I think it's depends on what's best for that couple. So if they're willing to put the house up for rent, have an investment property, and then move with the mate to a neutral place, if that works for that couple, I think that's an option as well. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think you have to sell it. And in fact, I mean, I've seen situations where people have stayed in the home. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're going to stay in the home, the problem is the neutrality, just like what you said. So for instance, you know, to go back to the scenario I have mentioned, if Danielle has her dream home and now JL is moving into the dream home and they've decided they're going to do that, now Danielle has had her stuff everywhere. So she has, like I say, her office. She has, you know, a place for her office. And now JL comes in and he needs an office. And so now her office is now her office and his office. And so in her mind, it can play that game, and you open up for the devil to basically say, yeah, this used to be all of yours, but now you got to share. And his stuff is always on your stuff. And then if you say, okay, well, I'm going to use another room to be his office, and that used to be the guest room, now it plays in her mind, well, yeah, that used to be my guest room. My mama came, that was where she sat. So I think moving to a neutral place, and maybe I should have just said that, moving to a neutral place, I think is best. And I agree with you. I don't think you have to sell the properties. Because that's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't sell them, I'd rent them. But the point I'm trying to make is that you might have to move out of your dream home. And the people that have stayed in the dream home, what I've noticed that they have done is they redid everything. Mm-hmm. So they redid the kitchen, they redid the carpeting, they redid the windows. So they might have did a $50,000 upgrade to the liking of both people. And it forces everybody to reset. So now it's not really any one person's environment. It is now both people's environment. And I think that's the main point I was trying to make. But thank you for making sure that, you know, people understood, okay, that yes, you can have some rental property. I thought Jenny would have got on me about that, you know, because she's always talking about them investments, but you know, she ain't ready yet. She like, yeah, you know, she ain't ready yet. So is that it? Nobody else has anything to say? JL been quiet the whole time. I've been messing with him, and he been quiet the whole time. Chandra been quiet. Cephas has been quiet. Oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. Cephas has been quiet.
I'm listening, Jay, just taking it all in.
Calvin, come on, man. I know you got some wisdom. Yeah, I look like super quiet today. Come on, Calvin. There he is. He done turned the screen on. Come on, Calvin.
I'll shut up on this one. No, I got nothing. I just know when to shut up this time.
I do have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in reference to, you know, the selling of homes and things like that, if that's a part of the package. And, you know, I would think twice about selling my home, dating in my 50s and purchasing another place to live. I think at some point there might need to be like an age cutoff. Who wants to invest in another property if you're older? You know, you understand what I'm saying?
But no, that's part of my point, though. See, it's not so much the literal investment, but you got to think about it like this, Shonda. Mm-hmm. What if, like I said, you know, you get married, right? And you get married to Calvin, since now he got his screen on. So you get married to Calvin. Calvin got stuff. He's sitting in a chair right now. Where his chair gonna go? What? See, that's the whole thing. You got furniture in your house. You got your house set exactly how you want it. But Calvin, when he marry you, he gonna come in with all his stuff. He ain't gonna throw it away. He got stuff too, and you got to make room for it. And it's hard from a spiritual and mental, well, I ain't gonna say spiritual, but it's hard for many people from a mental place and an emotional place, because your house becomes emotional. So it's hard for a lot of people to come in and then you give him 50% of that house. You're saying, now we're gonna move stuff around, we're gonna change it because now I'm marrying you. And that's hard for a lot of women to do. Okay. And if you don't give him that ability, he's going to feel rejected and neglected by you. And he's going to feel that your stuff is more important than him. And at that point, you've given the devil an inch, something he can wiggle with, something he can work on Calvin over and over again. Yeah, she says she love you, but she didn't like your chair. She wanted you to sell her, your chair. She says she loved you, but she took all your plants and she sat them outside. You know, she says she loved you, but she done all these things. If you're not willing to give him that full reign, then it's going to be very difficult for you to create that bond and to make that bond strong. That's why the best thing is to go to a neutral place. But it's like I said, if y'all just have to keep it, you have to think about, can you go into your house right now and you and Calvin get together and y'all say, okay, well, we're getting married, so we're going to take 50 grand and we're going to redo this whole thing. We're going to redo your kitchen, Chandra. It's just like you like it. Well, we're going to redo it. So if you got an island, we're going to get rid of the island. If you ain't got no island, we're going to add an island. How you going to feel about that?
Just that.
Like, Calvin, we just move into your house and we can do all of this in your house. So you can keep your chair, you can keep your plants, and I can get my island, and I can take 2 or 3 of your rooms for my clothes, and I need a garage style for my car. You can have the man cave. I need a beauty room. Oh, see, I think it would be easy.
You think until I crank up my 11 speaker Bose system.
Now, Calvin, you can't have all them speakers when I move in there. That's just too much bass.
Sounds like you're gonna need a mansion. My goodness.
I'm just mad. It takes 2 or 3 rooms to have all Chandra's clothes.
I don't have that many clothes. I was
trying to slide that in there. Y'all pay attention.
But I need an office. I need a dressing room. I need stuff. I need space.
Women got needs, Calvin. That's what you're saying. She's saying women got needs. Women got needs.
Only thing I care about is the music and the TV.
There you go. There you go. Well, we got a gentleman that's waiting. I don't know his name. He's got iPad 111. Hey man, that's what it say, dude. Y'all got to learn, put y'all's names in there. Help a brother out. What you got to say, sir?
I will. My name is Curtis, by the way, and I will get that updated. But just in response to that, as a guy, if I were to get to that point and I'm getting married and she wants to move into my place, or that somehow that's the decision we make, moving into my place is not an option. I would get a separate place. And it's not because of me. I don't know how she would ever feel like she's not moving in with me. I think if you get married, you need to have the woman feel like that's her place right from the beginning. And so I don't think I would even take that chance.
Good point.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel too. I feel like it needs to be the commonplace of, the marriage, and I honestly believe that even if you decide to keep a good portion of the furniture, I encourage you to get a brand new bedroom suite for the master bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage you to get new furniture for the main room that will be your activities, most of your activities, like what some people call it a den, some people call it a living room, some people call it a great room, but just wherever y'all gonna watch TV, hang out, do y'all's thing, I would encourage you to get brand new furniture. Because again, it needs to be, yours and yours alone. And so that way, you guys can come together. And again, I think that's one of the hard parts when you get older is that we don't want to do those things.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, someone in their 50s, if they're still in the home, their home might be paid for. That's a bill that they don't have. And so now you're in a situation where even if you don't purchase another property and you're renting, now you've added another form of debt to the equation. So I think those are some real things to think about. And if it's a new place, you may, if you're renting, you may want to get new furniture. Well, you're gonna have to get a brand new bedroom set because we're not transporting, beds to a new place. We got to get some new mattresses, along with, you need kitchenware. I mean, it can get to be so huge in terms of debt that you probably didn't have prior to deciding that you really wanted to be together. The credit scores were good, savings were good, investments were good, and now you're adding debt to that, which is going to change the dynamic of the relationship as well. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, but it doesn't cost as much as you think because, like, for instance, here in Atlanta, if you sell a $400,000 home, more than likely you can buy a $400,000 home. You can just sell to get. I mean, it doesn't necessarily going to throw you off, that far. And if you decide to rent, again, depending upon how much debt, depending upon, the status of the old home, you still might not be in the position there where you're talking about. I mean, I understand your point. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's necessarily quite that bad. But at the same time, even if you're retired, that's, like I say, that's one of the things you have to think about. You have to think about these things. And that's how I'm always saying, look for a wife, look for a husband, because a husband's coming in, like if you, Chandra, are dating a dude that's a husband, he coming in with that mindset from day one. he ain't gonna figure that out when he get down on one knee. He
Yeah, I
already
hear
been
you.
figuring this out. Huh?
So until I meet him, I just got to keep thinking, you know, weighing all options until I meet him, until he's figured it out and told me, Chandra, this is what we're doing. You know, I have to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I ain't got no problem with y'all thinking about it, but I just want to make sure that you ready and that, you know, you have your priorities, because I think a lot of times, especially with God, you have to have your priorities in order, because, you know, God sees your heart.
I agree.
Yeah. So if you want, you know, to, you know, him to bless you, you know, your heart got to be right, or at least sort of right. Because, you know, half the people in the Bible, their heart wasn't right. But, you know, the closer you can get it. Huh?
I said, that's true. But at a minimum, I definitely want to be the person that I want to attract. You know, I don't want to attract the person with a lot of debt, a person with a lot of issues, a person with, you know, issues with their kids and, you know, all of that. You know, I really want to, and I do have all of that intact. But my thing would be, I have to make sure I'm flexible and open to receive it, and believe that he's coming from a good place in his heart with whatever he's offering.
Yeah, and that's why I say look for a man that's a servant leader. That's the key. You know, because he should be willing to give up for you. And if he's not willing to give up for you, then that's a problem. And then again, you know, like I said, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but you need to make sure that, you know, your energy is really lining up with men that are good men and that are not bad men. You know, and just to make sure that's there. Well, come on, Calvin.
Okay, I want to hear from the young ladies mostly, and this is Jay. I'm glad you cleared up the wingman thing, because I did it wrong. I think I'm not completely sure, but let's find out. There's a person in this group. Let me know that, hey, have no interest in Calvin, but we can hang out. Okay. And we did that. We hung out, listened to some music. I walked across part of the dance floor. Young lady grabs my hand, started to talk to me. Hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 whatnot. And the person that I was with got mad at me. I don't know what to do with that. Help a brother out. We're not interested in me. We're going out just to hang out. Hey, if she met somebody out there, cool. We just keeping each other company for the evening. Help a brother out.
Now, Calvin, you know when y'all was together. You know that.
What does that mean?
I mean, she was captivated by all of Cal.
But you let me know she wasn't interested in me. Kind of like that. It's not really a date, keeping each other company, but yeah, okay. So y'all ain't gonna help a brother out. Y'all gonna be quiet with this one, huh?
I mean, if it would be me, Calvin, I'll be honest. I'm gonna make sure that before we go out, I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen if we meet somebody? Am I gonna be like, you my cousin? No, what we doing? No, I'm gonna be real. That's exactly what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna have that conversation before we step in wherever we gonna step in. You know, are we cousins? Or what we doing? And you know, and if the woman like, well, no, then I'm like, okay, then we on a date. So now what we doing?
And besides, Calvin, you said young ladies. I don't know how many are left.
Oh,
I didn't say it.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right, Jay. Need to clear all that up. If you're gonna have a woman for a wing person.
Well, Calvin, either she was not being truthful with you or you embarrassed her.
Right, because other people that were around might have thought you all were together. And she wanted them to think that, even though you weren't. But you do know when you all were together, you all were together.
Okay.
Because you didn't clear it up ahead of time.
Yeah.
No, if she told you she wasn't interested, then she shouldn't have been jealous. But the fact that she was, she may have not been telling the truth. Or she had some other issues going on. She just liked attention on her, period.
Or maybe she wasn't interested, but then while you were out, she started to get interested.